Tomorrow's One Piece episode, episode 1149, is about to blow everyone's minds. It's fully adapting the rest of chapter 1115 and the entirety of chapter 1116, and it comes with one of the heaviest titles we've seen yet, The Void Century, The Truth Behind the Flooded World. Now, obviously, I can't show the episode here on the channel because of copyright, but what I can do is give you a complete breakdown of the chapter it's based on. So when the episode drops, you'll go in with a deep understanding of every hidden detail and layer of meaning behind what you're about to see. The episode picks up right where we left off, with Dr. Vegapunk continuing his global transmission. He reveals that he managed to decipher only a handful of the poneglyphs, but even that was enough to uncover fragments of an ancient and devastating war. A war that took place in the distant past. A war where Joy Boy himself stood against the founders of what would become the world government, known back then as the Alliance of 20 Kingdoms. As Vegapunk speaks, Mars, one of the Gorosei, tries to shut the broadcast down by unleashing his Conqueror's Haki to destroy the Denden Mushi inside the lab. But it's too late. The message keeps playing. Vegapunk goes on to explain that this Alliance of Kingdoms was formed specifically to oppose Joy Boy and the faction he represented. He admits he doesn't know why the conflict started, nor does he take sides, but he's certain that it was a clash of ideals, a battle between two opposing visions for the world itself. Then he shifts to talk about Joy Boy's kingdom, a nation so technologically advanced that its creations surpass even Vegapunk's own abilities. That, he says, is where the real problem lies. Meanwhile, inside the lab, Edison contacts Stussy, begging her to lower the frontier dome barrier and escape while she still can. But Stussy refuses. She wants to help the Straw Hats survive. Edison insists it's useless. The 5 elders are far too powerful, and they've already done all they could. When she hears the crew still has a chance to make it out alive, she's relieved, but admits that since Stella's death, she feels like she's lost her purpose in life. And while all this chaos unfolds, Jinbei is still making his way to the ship with Zoro in his arms, apologizing to Nami for being late. Nami warns him they need to move fast. The Marines are closing in, tightening their grip on the northeast shore.
At the shore, chaos erupts once again. Noosejiro breaks free from the giant's grip and lunges straight for Bonnie, his blade flashing through the air. But Frankie jumps in just in time, shoving her out of harm's way as the strike slices the ship's rudder clean in half. Then, without hesitation, Frankie launches himself high into the air and fires off a massive blast, splitting the upper lab into 2. The impact sends the CP agents and Seraphim prisoners crashing down, forcing the Marines to scramble desperately to rescue them. Meanwhile, Dr. Vegapunk's broadcast continues, and his words only grow heavier. He explains that Joy Boy's defeat marked the end of the Void Century, but the world never truly recovered from that war. He admits that the seas of this world are treacherous and unpredictable, that humanity has become trapped, living and dying in the same lands they were born in, too afraid to cross oceans or explore new cultures. But then he drops a bombshell. 1,000 years ago, the world wasn't like this. During the Void Century, a cataclysmic event struck, an environmental disaster that flooded the old world beneath the ocean, leaving behind only the islands we know today, the scattered remnants of once great continents. People all over the world are divided. Some dismiss Vegapunk's claims as insanity, others believe every word. Vegapunk himself admits that his story sounds impossible, but he insists this global transformation is real. At some point in history, sea levels rose by 200 meters, and the question remains, how? Then he says something that sends chills down the world's spine. While most might think such a flood was a natural disaster, Vegapunk has found no evidence of that. Instead, his research points to something man-made, an artificial catastrophe. His suspicions were confirmed by the massive earthquake that struck just days ago. And then he says it. The cataclysm that drowned the world was caused by the ancient weapons. They still exist. They're still out there, waiting. Which means that great war from centuries ago never truly ended. The world watches in disbelief. People everywhere are shaken, terrified by the idea that weapons powerful enough to sink the planet are still hidden somewhere. And the shock only deepens when Vegapunk reveals that the ancient war is still being fought in secret, long after every soul from that era has perished. Finally, he changes the tone of his message, saying there's something else he must apologize for, something that weighs heavily on his conscience. And then, Vegapunk drops another bombshell. He explains that his lifelong dream was to create a new source of energy, something powerful enough to push humanity toward a new age of progress. He admits he hasn't perfected it yet, but proudly declares that he did manage to create it. An energy unlike anything seen before, known as the Mother Flame. According to him, this power could one day light the way for all of humanity, if used correctly. But then the tone shifts. Vegapunk confesses that a portion of the Mother Flame was stolen, and he takes full responsibility for that theft. Meanwhile, back inside the lab, Stussy and Edison are still communicating as Nejiro's attack tears through the facility. Edison begins to fear that one of the 5 elders is already on his way to them, and he begs Stussy to escape while she still can. But Stussy hesitates. She asks if she can release Kaku, not wanting him to suffer for what's happening. She promises to keep him from pursuing the Straw Hats, even though she knows that probably isn't his top priority. Edison agrees, apologizing for forcing her into betraying CP0, people she once called her friends. With tears in her eyes, Stussy listens as Edison tells her something that hits deeply. Her inner conflict proves that she's still human, and he hopes she'll find a reason to keep living. Then Vegapunk's voice returns, calm yet heavy with guilt. He says that 2 weeks after the Mother Flame was stolen, he noticed a strange glow in the skies above the Lulusia kingdom. Soon after, reports came in. The entire kingdom had vanished. Then came a global earthquake. That's when Vegapunk realized the horrifying truth. The Mother Flame had been used to power an ancient weapon. He admits he doesn't know who used it or why, but he sees himself as an accomplice to what he calls an act of mass extermination. The entire world falls into chaos after that revelation. Some shout that Vegapunk isn't to blame, but he insists what happened only proves his theory. The Great Flood that reshaped the world centuries ago wasn't natural, it was man-made. Then Vegapunk says something that shakes the very foundation of One Piece history. He reveals that Joy Boy intended to pass these ancient weapons on to future generations, believing they would carry his will. Vegapunk calls this idea insane. No one should wield that kind of power, and that's exactly why he refuses to take sides in that ancient conflict. Still, he ends his speech with a chilling warning. The day when all truths come to light is near. My words should not be taken as prophecy, but as a warning. And just when everyone thinks the revelations are over, he adds one final piece. The mystery of the Void Century might be unknown to the world, but there are people who already know the truth. Those people are none other than Roger's crew. Meanwhile, in another part of the lab, York is thrown into a panic. She can't understand how Vegapunk figured it out, that she was the one who stole the Mother Flame, especially after she had cut off their shared mental link. York's mind spirals. She knew Vegapunk's shock at her betrayal had been real. He's not the kind of man who can fake emotions, let alone lie. So how? How did he find out she was the one who stole the Mother Flame, or that Lulusia had been wiped off the map? The realization hits her like a thunderbolt. There's only one explanation. Vegapunk knew everything from the very beginning. That broadcast wasn't just a message, it was a plan. Panic sets in as she finally figures it out. The location of the Denden Mushi transmitting Vegapunk's message to the entire world. She immediately contacts the 5 elders, revealing that it's hidden inside the giant robot. And just as the Gorosei begin to act, Vegapunk's message continues, his tone now soft, almost philosophical. He asks a question that resonates through every corner of the world. If Roger's crew discovered the truth of the past, why didn't they share it with the world? The screen then fades, and we cut to a quiet bar. Rayleigh, sitting beside Shacky, lets out a tired laugh, a drink in hand. His eyes carry the weight of 1,000 memories as he mutters, me and Vegapunk, we're just two old men. It's not our place to talk about things like that. The joy of discovery, the thrill of adventure, that belongs to the next generation.